What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Knicks Recap Podcast. I'm your host, Troy, and you could be anywhere in the world this afternoon, but you chose to be here with me, and I really appreciate that because we have a lot of Knicks content to cover. Shout out to the chat gang. Salute to Knicks Nation. So many different topics to discuss today. We're going to be talking about an NBA executive who is pushing the Knicks to try to get one of a big man in the NBA right now that they should avoid. We're also going to be talking about Jalen Brunson and his hand injury, where he is in recovery, and if that's going to affect him headed into training camp. We're going to look at the top power forwards headed into the league for next season and where Julius Randle ranks, if he ranks at all. And we're also going to be looking at Tyler Kolek. He's putting on muscle as we speak, getting ready for training camp. Melo potentially could have came back to the Knicks, but chose not to. We're going to figure out that reasoning and why he did that. And we're also going to be discussing the top realistic trade targets for the Knicks moving forward and headed into next season. There are 3 of them, and one of them, got to be honest, guys, I do not want to see it at all. But right now, to get started with the show, we're going to talk about an NBA executive who is currently pushing the Knicks to try to sign Nikola Vucevic, the center out of the Chicago Bulls. Now, here's the thing. I understand when you're a contender and that's how you're seen in this league, everybody around the league is going to want to make your team better. They're going to try to do things that they think are going to make your team even better than it is right now. And before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to Tony Riviera, who's given us a super chat, and he's saying, salute, King. Let's go, Knicks. Salute to you, my brother. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. And shout out to everybody in the chat gang for being live with me today as we break down these latest Knicks topics. But Tony, I really appreciate that, my man. You're always showing love, and I do appreciate that. But like I said, today, everybody thinks that they can fix the Knicks because when you're a contender, they think they know exactly what it takes to fix you. We're talking about all NBA analysts and NBA insiders. But did you know NBA executives also make that list too? And according to a recent report from theheavy.com, they announced that an NBA executive is currently pushing the Knicks to trade for Chicago's own Nikola Vucevic. And in my opinion, if the Knicks made that trade, it would be disastrous. One of the worst moves that they could make. We're going to break down these latest reports and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. NBA executive is pushing for the Knicks to trade for Nikola Vucevic. I can't tell you, when I read this report, how much anger went through my body. We keep talking about the guys that are quote-unquote Tom Thibodeau guys, the guys that are not Tom Thibodeau guys. Nikola Vucevic, in terms of his defense, is he not like paper on defense? Almost non-existent. Anybody can get by him. If he was playing for Tom Thibodeau, maybe his defense gets a little bit better. But even so, you're not going to fix what that man is already on defense. A lot of people in the chat and the community, New Yorkers in general, have told me directly that they want Nikola Vucevic. They like him on this team. And if he was available at the right cost, the Knicks should go after him. But here's the thing. If you trade for him, isn't he going to be your starting center? And if he's your starting center, then that potentially means you have no defense in that starting 5 at the 5 spot. And then off the bench, who knows what you're going to have to get? Because the likely chances are you're going to have to include Mitchell Robinson in any deal to get Vucevic on this team. But before we go further here and break down these reports, let's talk about the recent reports that came out about Vucevic and potentially the Knicks going after him, according to this NBA executive. Shout out to theheavy.com Sean Daverney for giving us the following information. According to them, it was reported that one NBA executive floated a trade between the Knicks and Chicago Bulls that would land 2-time All-Star center Nikola Vucevic in New York. According to the executive, the Knicks That is not really Tom Thibodeau's kind of big man. When you look at Boston, they can play 5 out. They can put 5 shooters on the floor. That is going to be key for any team that wants to keep up with them. The Knicks can't do that. But if you add a guy like Vucevic, that's a game changer. While the executive acknowledged that Vucevic is not the typical Tom Thibodeau player, presumably because of his subpar defense, the 2-time NBA All-Star could help them offensively if the price made sense. Looking to remain a contender in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks need to replace Hartenstein's production from the center spot. This will not be easy to do, especially when considering what the 26-year-old center brought on both ends of the court. But see, here's the thing. Would Vucevic do the same thing? Because that's what we need to understand. I don't think that Vucevic would be the guy that helps this Knicks team take that next step and get to the next level. Even if he came to this team and became the starting center, his defense being subpar and him only having an offensive game, would that work under head coach Tom Thibodeau? Even if you sell me, his defense would get better. And yes, he could add shooting to the Knicks starting 5, especially at a position that you needed a lot these days. Modern centers in the NBA, especially if you're drafting centers, they likely have some type of mid-range game, have some type of three-point shot, because that's what you need in the NBA right now to be successful. I want to go to a super chat from Tony right now because he gave us the following super chat. According to Tony, he states, why would we downgrade our team? He's speaking about the Knicks going after Nikola Vucevic. And you know, Tony, I have to agree with you here. If the Knicks went after Vuce, it would be a downgrade because where we are right now, you have to think about it. The Bulls are just not going to give him away. Yes, they want to trade him, but they likely want to trade him for something significant back. And if you're the Bulls, you're probably going to want Mitchell Robinson because you're giving up a center. You're going to want a center back. Mitchell Robinson is a defensive-minded center. He can start. He can come off the bench, and his contract is amazing. The same can't really be said about Nikola Vucevic. And even more than that, if he's not a Tom Thibodeau guy, what's that going to mean in the long run? Is he going to find time for this Knicks team? And if he doesn't find time because he can stay out there because he's a defensive liability, then what will that mean for the Knicks and them making that trade? I understand some executives, they want the Knicks to be better. And in their mind, the Knicks have enough defense where they can substitute having Vucevic in the starting lineup. If you're thinking that, you're wrong. Most of the Knicks defense comes from that 5 spot. We were talking about Isaiah Hartenstein in that last article. There's no reason to bring up iHeart and talk about Vucevic for 1 point. Vucevic cannot do what Isaiah Hartenstein can do. Vuce can't pass like iHeart. Vuce can score better than iHeart, but Vuce can't play that defense like Isaiah Hartenstein can. No way. iHeart doing what he did for the Knicks, the only reason he could do that is because he was giving us that level of defense that we needed, that Tom Thibodeau needed. You think he would have saw that many minutes on the court if his defense was not looking that good? Because I don't think that was going to be the case. I could make the same exact argument against Vucevic. If he came here, if his offense is not top tier, if it's not where it needs to be, then is he going to see time on that floor? Because if you're not doing what you need to do offensively and you can't give me anything defensively, then what are you good for on the floor? What are you going to do for this Knicks organization? And that's why the Knicks have to be careful here. Because at the trade deadline, there are going to be moves like this to get a player like Vucevic. And this type of move is a dangerous, disastrous move, a move you must avoid. But if you see other moves available, maybe a Kessler trade, and that makes sense because of the price point, or a Jonas Valanciunas trade, and that makes sense because of the price point. That's where you go because price means everything in this league. And to Leon Rose, it always means everything. He's going to go where the price point makes the most sense. And that's where we need to be able to talk about it because we can talk about all these centers. We can talk about all these players that are available and potentially the Knicks could go after. NBA executives are wanting the Knicks, pushing the Knicks to go after. But it doesn't mean anything if Leon Rose will never even entertain the price point and if it won't help the Knicks improve and become a better roster. Vooch is great on offense. If he came to the Knicks, we would be a worse team. Not only because of the trade package and the assets we would have to give up to get Vooch, but he doesn't fit this roster at all. Not even a little bit. Right now, we are a better team without Vooch. Our roster right now is in championship contention without Vooch. I don't know about you guys, but I'd like to keep it that way. And including a player like Vooch, that's not really on my list. Let's go to the chat again because we have Tony, and he is blowing up the super chat today. Tony, I got to say thank you, my brother. Thank you so much for all the support today. If you want to be like Tony as well, too, you want to get in on the super chat action, all you have to do is hit that little icon in the YouTube right there where you're going to see it. It's a heart with the little money icon in it. You hit that and your comments will always be prioritized. As you can see here, we're talking about something, but Tony has a comment and I want to get to it fast because he gave us a super chat today. So Tony says, we have enough firepower. We need defense. You see, Tony and me, this is why Tony is a longtime subscriber to the show, why he's a longtime fan of the show, and why he's always been a longtime listener. Because we see eye to eye on some things, and this is part of it. We do need defense. Have we forgotten that Mitchell Robinson is likely not going to be there to start training camp? Maybe not there to start the season? We need to utilize what we have, and we need to understand that defense is mainly what we need, especially when you're talking about a starting caliber center or somebody coming to this team and potentially being that type of player for us. They need to do something very good on the defensive end. Maybe if your defense is not legendary, then at least be good enough and do something else. Rebound really well, box out really well, do something on that level. That's what we need to see. I understand right now the Knicks are the talk of the town. Everybody wants to talk about us because of how good we are and how good we're going to be next season. And a lot of us, or a lot of them, I should say, NBA insiders, want to try to fix the Knicks. We don't need fixing. We're good. Could we use a couple of upgrades? Sure. Every team could use upgrades. But overall, in general, we're good. We're a championship roster. We do not need Nikola Vucevic. The Knicks, I pray, will not trade for him or even look at him come the trade deadline because we're going to have other things to do, other options to look at, and hopefully other trade targets to hopefully go after and get on this team. Who those trade targets are, you ask? We're going to get to them a little bit later on in the show, so definitely stay tuned. We're also going to be talking about the giveaway. As everybody who's been following me on social media, you've seen it in the YouTube post. We have a giveaway today, giving away a Fanatic Knicks fitted snapback. It's going to be a great hat. I didn't say which hat won the vote yet, so we're going to announce that. And we're also going to announce the giveaway winner. That's going to come at the end of the show, so definitely stay tuned for that. And I want to remind everybody, if you haven't known already, we are part of the Playback right now. So you can join the Knicks Recap Playback channel. If you're wondering, you can catch us on the Playback for watch-alongs. You can catch us there for very special interviews and exclusive content. We are going to go off next season doing so much and everything that you guys want to see. And I promise you, a lot of the watch-alongs that you guys want to be a part of, that you guys were asking for all off-season long, it's going to happen starting with preseason this year. But it's going to be on the Playback. If you want to be part of that, you want to join the stage and come up and talk to me as the game is going on live and watch it with me, the only way to do that is to join the Knicks Recap Playback channel. You can find the link in this video's description to join that channel right now. So go ahead and do that if you're not part of that channel, because I'm telling you, the content there is going to be great. And don't worry, all the content that's streamed from the playback.tv will be available on all platforms, including YouTube. So don't worry about that. Tony's come back again. And Tony, I believe, has another super chat for us. And he says, we just need to wait for midseason trade. Tony, I got to agree with you there. And thank you so much for all the love today, Tony, all the super chats. I really, really do appreciate it. I do agree. The center that we need is not going to come right now. It's going to come at the trade deadline. And his name is not going to be Nikola Vucevic. It's either going to be Walker Kessler or, more likely, in my opinion, Jonas Valanciunas. But you never know with Leon Rose. He has a tendency of making a move that we think could never happen, and he can make it possible. So we'll see what happens there. But shout out to Tony for that great comment. And again, I do believe the trade deadline is something to watch. But right now, Vucevic is not the guy. There is no need for him, and I'm thankful the Knicks are not going to go after him. Something else that a lot of people in New York, a lot of Knicks fans, even some people in the comments have recently asked me, what's the deal with Jalen Brunson and his hand injury? Now, I gave an update a couple of weeks ago that it was basically fine. That's what he said at the presser when he became captain. But we really didn't get any more details after that. Well, recently, him and his father joined Mark Jackson's podcast, and they said the following when they were on that show about everything about Brunson and that hand injury. So according to Mark Jackson, he asked the following question to Brunson: how's the hand doing now? Is it 100%? And Jalen Brunson said with a smile on his face, hand's good. We'll see around first game of the season, see if it's ready to go or not. But he said it with a smile on his face. With everything going on and with every factor that we've seen, all the reports that we've seen, Jalen Brunson is a go for training camp. He's going to be ready, and he's definitely going to be available for preseason as well, too. So I wouldn't worry about Jalen Brunson. I wouldn't worry about his hand injury. He's good. Looking like he's fully recovered, or at least very, very close to it. And once training camp starts, he's going to be ready to go, lock in, stay focused, and do whatever he needs to do to lead this Knicks team all the way back to the playoffs, but then go further, even beyond there, to the NBA Finals. That's one of the goals this year. The other goal is getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, like we should have been all along. Jalen Brunson's going to be an important piece to that, and even though he's still dealing with a little bit of that hand injury, it does look like for training camp, he's going to be ready to go. That's music to my ears. Getting our superstar point guard back, fully healthy. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to see. Let's continue here and see the other topics that we have to discuss today. One of the other ones is Jericho Sims, because recently he announced he is switching his jersey number from number 45 to number 20. This was announced recently on the app X. Now, if you don't know, Sims did wear 20 when he was at Texas. So I don't know if this is some type of calling for him, or he wants to do something maybe in his mind, try to put it out there, the good vibes, and say, maybe if I go back to my old jersey number, maybe I can play the way I used to play, have that same type of bounce, that same type of energy, that same type of commitment to the game. And maybe with this change, it will signify and indicate a new beginning for Jericho Sims. And maybe that means some carved out playing time. Now, will Jericho play a significant amount of time for the Knicks next season? If you're asking me, I already said the answer is no. He's not going to play extreme high minutes unless an injury happens. But if an injury doesn't happen, he's right behind Precious Achiuwa. You got Mitchell Robinson, you got Precious Achiuwa. Oh, and by the way, the Knicks still have an open roster spot. They still have access to the MLE. If they use that to get a big man, that means just even more or less time for Jericho Sims to play any time at the center position for the Knicks next season. It's not a knock against Sims. I understand. He's trying to change his jersey number. He's working out with Mike Bibby in the offseason. He's finally fully healthy, more healthy now than he's ever been in his entire career. Steph Bondy, shout out to him. He reported that a few weeks ago. I understand that. I get it. He's done a lot, and he wants this opportunity. In training camp, he's going to have the perfect opportunity now. Mitchell Robinson's not there. So now, if you were ever going to show out and earn a spot, earn that backup center position, right now is your opportunity. Nobody's standing in your way come training camp besides yourself. Go out there, do what you need to do. Prove the fact that changing your jersey number to 20 isn't just you just changing it to change it. That you're doing it because you want to make a statement moving forward, and you believe you're going to be a significant piece for this Knicks team. If you believe that, then show it in training camp. Don't just change your jersey number. Do something else about it, because I got to see it now, Sims. Too many years in this game. Too many years with this Knicks squad. Do something. In training camp, prove it. Prove you're the backup center. Prove the Knicks don't need to go out and get somebody else with the MLE that's a backup center. The only person that can change that is you. Let's go back to the chat, because Tony continues to go off and continues to give us praise after praise and super chat after super chat. So Tony states, Troy, let's go to some preseason games. Tony, I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much for the super chats and all of the love this year and all of the love during this particular live stream. I appreciate it. I'm definitely going to go to some games next season. I'll definitely be announcing which games I go to. So if anybody wants to tag along, you're going to be able to do that. I don't know how many preseason games I'm going to go to. I got to be honest. I will be covering a lot of them for the playback.tv. So if you want to see my reaction to that, you can join the stream for that. But I don't know how many preseason games I'm going to go to. Definitely regular season games. I plan to go to a couple of games in January as well, too. Don't forget, as members, whoever's a member to the channel, if you're not a member yet, please make sure you do that because only members have access to each and every giveaway that we're doing. And the giveaway in January is going to be some Knicks tickets. You might be asking yourself, why are you waiting till January? January is when the Knicks play their most home games. And I'm talking back-to-back home games. So it's perfect for any Knicks fan. If you're looking to plan ahead or try to come to New York during that time, that's the perfect time. And if you're a member of this channel, you might have a chance to win in January tickets to see the Knicks at MSG. So that's something to watch out for. Definitely something to look out for as well. And thank you so much, Tony, for the super chats. One more thing before we go to the chat, because I see you guys are active. I see a lot of my familiar faces in there. I want to get to you guys in your comments. But before we do that, I got to talk about the recent list that we saw from Hoops Hype about the top power forwards in the game headed into next season. Now, you guys know me. I'm never somebody that goes off on each and every single list that I see because I understand it. Sometimes we get it wrong. But there are some lists that I look at and I think to myself, you have to be more accurate given the type of brand that you are. Hoops Hype, ESPN, some of these brands, I look at them because I expect a little bit more from them. They should know a little bit better, right? Well, sometimes they get it wrong, and in my opinion, they got it wrong this time. Check out this list of top power forwards for next season, according to Hoops Hype. And shout out to NBA Central for giving us the following information. And I do see the super chat as well, too. So let me go to the super chat as well before we get into this list. Shout out to Double A, waiting sometimes. I appreciate you, Double A. Thank you so much. Double A, man, listen, I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the love. And yeah, when you're doing a show sometimes, you got to get to the topics at hand. But I promise you, when it comes to the live chat and everybody that's supporting, I always try to go to your comments as soon as I possibly can. But I appreciate you guys. We're going to get to that live chat comments very soon. And thanks to everybody who's hitting the super chat right now. We got a lot of people on a Friday really happy to see me. And that makes me happy, makes me very excited for the community that we're growing. So thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. But let's go back to that power forward list as I was talking about, because we got to talk about it, guys. We really do have to. Sometimes, as I said, the list gets a little bit disrespectful, but we're going to go and talk about it here. NBA Central's list here for Hoops Hype top 15 power forwards entering the 2024-2025 season. Now you have here Giannis, Zion. Zion is number 2. I'm already disrespected. He wasn't even healthy in the postseason. He had a chance to play. He wasn't there. He couldn't stay healthy, and he's 2? I don't understand it. Anyways, Zion, Paolo Banchero, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns at 5. Just sometimes the disrespect is, guys, sometimes the disrespect is just incredible. Let's keep it going here. Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle at 7. Jaren Jackson, Evan Mobley, Aaron Gordon, Kyle Kuzma, Miles Bridges, Jeremy Grant, Keegan Murray, and Jabari Smith Jr. That's your top 15 power forwards entering a 2024-2025 season, at least according to Hoops Hype. But according to me, they got that list wrong. They got that list very wrong, especially for the top 5. Now, listen, I may be a Knicks fan. Maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but Julius Randle's not top 5. Julius Randle's not a top 5 power forward in the game right now. Are we watching the same NBA every year, every season? Because in my opinion, that's what it needs to be, shouldn't it? That's what it must be. And shout out to the new member that we have, Tony Riviera. Welcome, my brother. Thank you for joining as a member. I really do appreciate that. I always treasure each and every piece of support that I get, and the members of this channel always mean the most to me. Tony, thank you so much for joining, and having more members to this channel means that we can do even more things. And the more members we get, the even better the giveaway gets. So just remember that, guys. But let's keep it going here. Like I said, when it comes to the top power forwards in the game, I don't know how Julius Randle doesn't make top 5. Let's look at that list again. Giannis, I understand. Zion, Paolo, Pascal, and Cat. There is no way, I don't care what you want to say, there is no way Randle's not better, or you can't make a case that Randle's better than any single one of those guys. Let's keep it going here. Randle should be above Zion. Say what you want to say about Paolo. Right now, he is not where Randle is. Maybe eventually he'll be better than Randle. He's not better than Randle headed into next season. Pascal Siakam, because he plays both ends of the court, maybe you can make an argument there. There is no chance, no way that Cat is better than Julius Randle. No way. They're essentially the same player. The only thing you can tell me is Cat is a better shooter, but I'll counter that by saying that Randle is a better physical player inside. He takes contact better. He gets to the line. He gets people in foul trouble. You can say what you want to say, but there is no way that Karl Anthony Towns is above Julius Randle. Here's a hot take for you. I'll put Randle right behind Giannis. He's second in the NBA headed into next season as the best power forward in the NBA. And maybe you think that's a strong take. I don't care. You just saw that list. We broke down why Julius is better than everybody else who's above him. There is no need to talk about it anymore. Right now, it's Giannis, then it's Randle, then it's everybody else. You don't believe that? You think I'm wrong? Comment on it. At me about it. I don't care. I put respect where it's needed. Some people don't. Respect is deserved and it's earned. Julius did that all last year, the year before that, and he's going to do it again this year. He's a top power forward in this league, ladies and gentlemen. Top 2 power forward in this league headed into next season. You can quote me on that, and I'm going to stand on that for the entire year. But I know you guys have been waiting for it. Let's go to the chat, gang, and see what you guys have to say about all the topics that we talked about. Nikola Vucevic, Julius Randle, and the top power forwards in the league. Jalen Brunson's hand injury, and Jericho Sims, hopefully going to bring it come training camp. Let's go to the chat and see what you guys have to say. Rashid Atkins says, Zion doesn't even average 8 rebounds per game. Julius should be number 2. Listen, man, I agree with you 100%. I said the same thing as well, too. Lex the Destroyer said, H2O jersey, too heavy. Definitely appreciate that. And I hear that as well, too, my brother. Let's see. Dwayne Dennis says, what's up, Double A? Double A says, we can be unique, that we can be elite on D, yet still be great on offense. That's what I'm saying. See, Double A gets it, ladies and gentlemen. He understands it. Right now, the Knicks have a very, very unique situation that they're in because we can do so many different things given the roster that we have at this point in time. With the roster that we have constructed, we can be a nightmare on defense, but on offense, we can still destroy you because of the shooting that we have, because of the spacing that we have. And with Randle, the bully ball inside, it's almost undefeatable. What are you going to do? You just can't stop what this Knicks team has to offer. And every single person on this team understands their role. How could they not? Football fan, I appreciate you. Shout out to you, my brother, for the super chat. And I thank you. You didn't leave a comment, but I'll give you a shout out as well. I really appreciate all the love and support from everybody today in today's stream. It really does help. Tony states, we can't rush the process. Now, I don't want to say the process stuff, Tony, just because I feel like that's been beaten down by the Philadelphia 76ers. And I certainly don't want to be part of them. But I understand what you're saying. You don't want to rush greatness. And that's right. There's no reason to rush greatness. Starting 5 right now is championship contention. Our unit, our bench unit off the bench could potentially be a starting unit on other teams right now. That's how good our bench is. We don't get enough credit for how good the bench is. The fact that Dante DiVincenzo being added to the bench is a crazy, miraculous improvement that nobody's going to want to talk about. but our team is loaded. We are stacked at every single position that we need to be stacked at. And that is why we are a terror on defense and on offense. Very good comments. Atkins says, Julius number 2, need to sign Bismack Biyombo. It's like an E and Atkins like an Ak. Come on, Troy. Atkins. I said it right. Atkins, right? I said it right. I said it right. Come on. Atkins. I said it. I said Ak or it's Ake. Is it Akins? Is that what you're saying? I hope it's not. I say Ake like that. Akins. I hope I'm saying it right. Either way, don't kill me. You know how I am with names. You know it's all love. I'm just going to call you RA at this point. If you want me to call you RA, I'm just going to call you RA because that's how it's going to be. But I appreciate the love and support. Tony says, I don't want us to make the same mistake we made with Melo. Give up so much because we are rushing. Double A says, Troy, I'm not an impatient person. I meant waiting for trade deadline. Doesn't guarantee it provides you what you need. Definitely understand what you mean by that, Double A. I wasn't suggesting that you were impatient with that. I was saying overall, everybody wants things to happen right away. But we all understand basketball, you have to sometimes wait, watch what happens, and then make adjustments as you go on. And that's exactly what the Knicks are going to do today. Keith P says, if Vuk came at a low price and off the bench, I'm all in. I don't know about that. Football fan says, Football fan gives us a $4.99 super chat. I really appreciate that, my brother. Thank you so much. You're not leaving comments, but I'm going to give you a shout out either way because you deserve that. And I appreciate all the love and support today. Keith P, going back to your message though, even if Vooch came at a low cost, having him on the bench, given his contract, I wouldn't want him off the bench. But even more than that, he still does not play defense. If you played him off the bench, yes, you'd get great offense, but does he rebound the ball even? What else does he do? That's my thing, Keith. I understand it. You want Vooch. You think Vooch is a great player. Maybe he could be dynamic. Maybe he could add some range to this team. He could give us some scoring. He could help stretch the floor. The problem is, what else does he give you? Besides offensively, where's the greatness? Where is he? Because in my opinion, if you're not going to be able to take that next step defensively under head coach Tom Thibodeau, you're not going to see a lot of time. I think a lot of you would agree with that. There's no way you would see a lot of time under head coach Tom Thibodeau, even off the bench, if you're not playing a level of defense that he would accept and expect from you. So I think that's something to consider here. But let's keep it going. Tony stated, we just need a defensive-minded center. Keith P says, Troy, he pairs well with other bench players. If we look at the bench, let's see, the bench would be, what would it be? It would be, let's see, Dante DiVincenzo, Deuce, Josh Hart, Precious Achua, and then if you brought in somebody like Vooch, he could play the backup. So that would be your 5. I don't think that's a bad 5 per se, Keith. The fit, though, I mean, anybody who can stretch the floor at a center position with people who can run and shoot, yeah, you're going to be a good fit. You could say the same thing with the starters as well. I could make the same argument for Jonas Valanciunas. I can make the same argument for Walker Kessler. I can make the same argument for a lot of these players. The thing is, the cost difference. I don't know what Vucevic is going to cost, and we think it might be low. It may not be. I understand wanting to upgrade the bench and doing the best that you can possibly do. I just don't think Vooch is the player that's going to do it for this Knicks team. There are better players available I'd want the Knicks to go after before they offered any type of trade package to Chicago to get Vooch on this roster. Things would have to go disastrous during their dealings during the trade deadline for them to add Vucevic to this roster. One more comment, and then we're going to go to the rest of the show. We have other topics I want to discuss today, but we have Double A, and Double A is a perfect person to close out this segment of the chat. He states, Kessler should be on the roster. He has what we need in 2.5 blocks off the bench already. He's worth more of a gamble than a very low first-round pick. If we get him for the, I can't see that last part there. Let me see. If we get him for the 2025 picks, go for it. Listen, Double A, I hear you, brother, and that's going to be the last comment for right now. We're going to go back to the chat a little bit later on today after we go through a couple of these comments here. let's give me a couple of these other topics here. But going back to Double A's comment there, I do agree to an extent there. With Kessler, he is the perfect fit for this team. Ideally, he's the guy I want the Knicks to go after. The Knicks tried to get him in the summer. The trade talks were stalled, according to recent reports that just came out. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to go after him again come the trade deadline. But it's the same issue each and every time, Double A. It's the same thing. It goes back to Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge and his price point doesn't change. Even though Kessler is not part of the long-term plans for the Utah Jazz, it doesn't mean that Ainge doesn't understand Kessler's value around the league and what he means to other teams if he went there. And because he understands that, he's never going to let him go for nothing. He's going to ask for everything possible, more than he should ask for, to trade Kessler to another roster. And in some ways, you have to look at him and say, well, maybe some good GMs would do that. In the other sense, you can look at him and say, he's never looking to do business the right way. He always wants to be a thief and gets more than he gives up in every trade that he does. And that's just not fair in some scenarios, but maybe he doesn't want to be fair. Maybe he wants to do this. Maybe he wants to be known as the guy around the league that if you trade with me, you're going to have to give up more to get what you want. If that's the case, congratulations, Danny Ainge. That's what you've done. But I also think now you put Utah in a particular situation where now you have to keep players that you wanted to trade because you painted yourself in this picture where you're only going to do a trade if you get the best of the team that you're trading with. And no team is going to actively seek a trade like that. No team wants to lose. They want trades to be as fair as possible. But dealing with you never seems to be the case. And that's why, Double A, I don't see a Walker Kessler trade happening. Because Ainge is going to ruin it all. Ainge ruins everything. He ruins each and every piece of business that the Knicks and the Jazz try to do. We've seen it a couple of summers ago. We saw it with Walker Kessler this summer, and we're going to see it again come the trade deadline. We have to look at different options. And that brings us to our next topic, because when we're thinking about different options, there are so many targets out there that are linked to the Knicks. But honestly, some of those targets, they're not realistic. They're never, ever going to happen. So that begs the question, who are the realistic trade targets for the Knicks moving forward headed into next season? Well, thanks to an NBA analyst, he gives us some information. He actually outlines the Knicks' most realistic trade targets headed into next season. Now, this is somebody that we've had on the show before in Greg Schwartz for Bleacher Report. He gave us the following updates about the Knicks and their potential realistic trade targets that they have moving forward into next season. And when he dropped this list, it made so many people, so many Knicks fans, very angry, upset, because there's one name on that list that shouldn't be on that list. And for me, I didn't even want to see this name on this list because everybody knows how I feel about him. We're talking about, unfortunately, Karl Anthony Towns. And as you can see here, Karl Anthony Towns is one of the main people on that list, followed by Walker Kessler, followed by Jonas Valanciunas. Now, there are the good parts. The fact that Jonas and Kessler are on that list makes it realistic. But what concerns me is that Cat's on that list. And Cat, if everybody's been living under a rock for the last few seasons, if nobody's really known, Cat has been the most consistent all-star linked to the Knicks since Leon Rose took over as president of basketball operations for the Knicks. And each and every offseason, Cat continues to be mentioned, to be linked to the Knicks. And this offseason, it seems that they didn't waste any time. They didn't wait too long. Now we have reports indicating that potentially Cat is linked to the Knicks, even though it's coming from a report from Greg Schwartz of Bleacher Report indicating who he believes are the most realistic trade targets for the Knicks. But let's continue here. According to Schwartz, he states, the New York Knicks are loaded with talent at every position, except for the center position. The combination of Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa is okay, although the former has only topped 59 games once in his past 4 seasons. Towns has long been rumored a target of Leon Rose and the Knicks, and was born about an hour away from Madison Square Garden. A starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Towns would be truly, let me go back again there. And Towns would truly rival the Boston Celtics for the best in the NBA. Now, I gotta say, I do not agree with that statement at all from Schwartz. And Schwartz is a friend. I know him personally. He's been on the show. I might have him on the show again as a special guest sometime down the road. But I do not agree with this take at all. I understand we do need help at the center position. We do need to improve that area. And we have the ability to do that right now with the MLE. And we're going to have the ability to do that at the trade deadline. But trading for Cat, ruining, destroying our roster. Because if you took a notice there, Schwartz mentioned the roster, Schwartz mentioned the roster there. That would be a starting lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Towns. Who's missing in that lineup? Who's not there? Julius Randle. Because in Schwartz's mind, the perfect trade for the Knicks to make is trading Randle for Towns, and that starting five would be dangerous, according to Schwartz. But here's the thing. What's this current starting five? Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, that's a dangerous championship contending starting five. So I don't really understand the difference here. I understand that Cat has been linked to the Knicks season after season after season. But there's a reason why the Knicks have not pulled the trigger and gone after him. His contract is enormous. It's disgusting, actually. I don't want to see Towns anywhere near this Knicks organization because that contract is so nasty. His fit is not perfect, no matter what you want to say. And the chemistry, he wouldn't have it with this Knicks organization. He would have to play into it. And that might take how many seasons? It might take him 2-3 seasons to gain the chemistry that Randle already has with Brunson and this entire roster. That's something to consider there. Karl Anthony Towns is not somebody that shows up in the postseason. Now, everybody wants to say the same thing about Randle. Well, Randle doesn't show up in the postseason. Randle can't do this. Randle can't do that. Let me tell you this. Randle has the best roster around him this year to do everything we want him to do come the postseason. Mark my words on that. But even if I want to agree and say Randle doesn't do what he needs to do in the postseason, does Cat? Did he do it this past postseason he was in? Because I thought he had an embarrassing performance and he didn't do what everybody expected him to do, which was show up on the offensive end, be the best big man shooter in the game. Was he? Was he during that series? Because I remember seeing a guy by the name of Anthony Edwards show out and prove to everybody why that's his team and why it's never been and never will be Karl Anthony Towns' team. Why, oh why, would I want to bring somebody like that to this roster? Trade a player like Randle for Cat. Soft as he is. Shooting? Does he play inside like Randle does? Does he take contact like Randle does? Does he get people in foul trouble like Randle does? I'll answer it for you. The answer is no. Cat to the Knicks is terrible, disgusting, horrible, and it should never happen. We are championship contenders now. If they traded Randle and whatever else they had to trade to get Towns on this team, we would be a worse team. We would probably not be guaranteed championship contenders. And I don't care what any NBA insider wants to write. The Knicks would not be better than the current team that we have right now. That's how good I feel about Randle and his fit for this team. I don't understand it. Just don't understand it and don't agree with it. Let Towns suffer and destroy the Timberwolves. We're good over here in New York. We got a goal. We got a vision. That's a championship. We have a window for a championship with our roster that we have right now. We may need some help at the center position. But by no means are we desperate. By no means are we going to destroy our roster to get Cat on this team. No way. We're good on this side. Leon Rose is good on this side. You don't believe me? Why is Cat not on the team? Why is he not on the team? Why is he not here? Was he here last year? Reports came out. Nope. Was he here the year before that? Reports came out. Nope. Was he here the year before that? Reports came out. Nope. The same is gonna be true this year. We don't need no soft kitty cat walking into MSG, getting showered with water, and then running away to the back. We don't need it. He's not built for this. He's not built to play in New York. You don't have to say it. I said it for you. You don't want to say what's real? I'll say it for you. He's not a superstar. He gets paid like a superstar and does nothing, not a thing, like a superstar. Keep him away from my team. Keep him far, far away from my team. Maybe he used to be realistic, but with the roster we have right now, he's no longer realistic because we no longer need him. We don't need a cat. Why do we need a cat when we got a team full of dogs? We don't need no cat. Let's keep it moving. Thankfully, we're going to go to the more realistic parts here and the more realistic trades. And I'm so very happy that we're going to be doing that because that means the most to me right now. Go into the more realistic parts of this article by Greg Schwartz and the other targets he mentioned, Walker Kessler and Jonas Valanciunas. According to Greg Schwartz of Bleacher Report, he states the following about Kessler and why the Knicks should target him. Kessler is a completely different player than Towns and will never come close to reaching his offensive talent level. Although he's also making $46.3 million less than the four-time All-Star and is a better defender. The 7-footer is an elite rim protector who averaged 8.1 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks in 22.3 minutes while making 65.4% of his shots. Basically stating that Walker Kessler is a perfect fit for this Knicks roster right now. And I can't disagree because he is. If you look at the skill set, his defense, his youth, his contract, the fact that he can get better. He can get better and develop into an even better defensive player under head coach Tom Thibodeau. All of those factors are reasons why the Knicks must go after him. But Danny Ainge, he's going to be the biggest problem with all of that. He remains the biggest problem. He's the reason that the Knicks and the Utah Jazz and their trade conversations have stalled out. And they're likely going to remain stalled until the trade deadline. Let's go to Tony real quick. He gave us another super chat today, and I want to see what he has to say. Tony says, he's the new Joe Johnson. We don't need him. He's speaking about Karl Anthony Towns. And I absolutely agree with him. Once good, once thought to be generational, an amazing player. And now we see him for what he is, a player that can thrive in the right situation. So you want me to give up Randall for a situational player in Karl Anthony Towns who needs a specific set of players around him to be that good? No thanks. I'll rock with my current team. But going back to Walker Kessler, though, as mentioned from Greg Schwartz, and I've said it a number of times on this show as well, too, his defense, his youth, and his ability to still develop is why he's a perfect fit for this team. We are a championship contending team right now. You add a player like Kessler to this team, he is learning under the best circumstances, under the best environment. He's going to grow into a championship level starting center for this Knicks team. Starting off, he'll be the backup to Mitchell Robinson. Eventually, he'll start. And if we still have Robinson at that time, Robinson will be the one coming off the bench. Just like how it was supposed to be this season with Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, because that would have happened if Hart stayed with the Knicks. The only reason it didn't is because iHeart took more money and joined OKC. We all knew that was the case, though. That was the reports consistently before iHeart joined OKC. So we had to mention that. The other player on that list, as mentioned, I've mentioned him a number of times as well, too. In my opinion, in terms of cost, he is the perfect cost at the trade deadline for the Knicks to go after him. And I'm talking about Jonas Valanciunas from the Washington Wizards. And according to Greg Schwartz, he does agree with that as well, too. Valanciunas signed a 3-year contract with the Wizards, although his actual time in the nation's capital could be closer to 3 months. The veteran center got his money and will almost certainly be moved to a contender before the February 6th trade deadline. The Knicks could use his rebounding, screening, and toughness either as a starter or backup to Robinson. I agree. And if the trade package is going to be Precious Achiuwa, whatever player the Knicks go out and utilize that MLE on and sign to this team, that MLE player will also be utilized in that trade. And then they're going to give the Wizards what they want. That protected Washington pick that we have, that means nothing to us, means nothing to no other team, but means everything to the Washington Wizards. We'll give them back their flexibility and allow them to trade multiple picks to upgrade their team in the years to come. And that's why, out of all contenders listed, the Knicks will have the best trade package to offer Washington to get Jonas on this team. Remember, I've said it for months now, and I'm continuing to say it. If push comes to shove and they cannot get their preferred target come the trade deadline, and in my opinion, that target is Walker Kessler. They can't get him, then they're going to settle on Jonas Valanciunas because the cost is just too perfect and it makes the most sense. But what about you guys? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Knicks are primarily targeting Walker Kessler at the trade deadline? And if that doesn't work out, they're going to settle on Jonas Valanciunas. Let me know in the comments. We're going to get to the chat gang in just a little bit, but I want to go to another topic before we do that. And that topic is about Tyler Kolek. I've been speaking about Kolek basically each and every live stream for the past few weeks. But that's because there have been a lot to talk about him, his game, and his development. Well, recently, his trainer did an article with Steph Bondy of the New York Post, and he revealed a lot of information about Kolek and what they're working on. And one of the major tidbits revealed was that Kolek was trying to add muscle to his body ahead of training camp. And that is exactly what you want this kid to do, because if he gets bigger and stronger, he will be a better defender, he will be a better player, and he'll be able to take contact in the paint a lot easier, get that and one, and go to the line. I know he's thinking about that. And if you guys remember, he loves Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, tree trunk-like shoulders. He is strong. He can take contact. Tyler Kolek, he's looking like he wants to move in that exact same direction. Let's break down these latest reports from Bondy of the New York Post about Kolek and what he's doing during this offseason as he gets ready for training camp. According to his trainer, he states the following, and again, shout out to Bondy for giving us his information as well, too. Kolek's home for a week right now. We're kind of just changing his spark plugs, putting new tires on him, making sure he's as loose and feeling as good as possible when he gets to camp. 2 weeks ago, when he was home with me after the Summer League, we did a 5-day stretch. We were trying to get him stronger. We were trying to put a little bit of muscle on him because I know the demands of the NBA. And it beats you up, but we can't sacrifice speed, agility, or mobility for strength, because if we can get him wicked strong and he loses a step, we're in trouble. So I mixed it up. There's a potential need at backup point guard, according to Steph Bondy, with newly signed Campaign also vying for that spot and Miles McBride better equipped as the 2 guard. In a good sign for Kolek's case for a rotation spot, a source said that head coach Tom Thibodeau was a proponent of drafting the Marquette man, and Kolek has an ardent support in the weight room as well, too. A trainer who knows a thing or two about overcoming adversity. We continue here with this report from Bondy as he states the following. I've never seen that kid. Well, this is not Bondy saying it. This is his trainer, Carrera, saying it. And according to Carrera, his trainer, he states the following about Kolek. I've never seen that kid not being in a rotation. and I've never seen him not make people around him better. And with the firepower that the Knicks have, with the way they kind of broke down in the playoffs, with the injuries, they obviously needed some depth. And I think he's going to provide that depth. And Tyler can play with anyone. He can play with Dante DiVincenzo. He can play with Jalen Brunson. He can do so many different things that I just see him being an X factor that people don't realize. And in big game situations is when he's at his best. That kid is going to play with energy like John Starks did in the 90s. Spike Lee is going to have a Tyler Kolek jersey in the rotation for next season. These are things you gotta love to hear about a young rookie. Again, you can say what you want to say about him. Most paid rookie in terms of a second-round pick in NBA history. The Knicks paid this man for a reason because they have faith in him. Now, I don't know if he's going to get legit playing time headed into next season. If you're asking me, honestly, I really don't think he's going to because the roster that we have is so stacked. It's not a knock against Kolek, though. It's more of a praise to the Knicks and saying, well, look at their roster. They're so good. They're so deep that they probably are not going to have time to play Kolek. But will Kolek play sometimes? Maybe garbage minutes or something like that? Yeah, absolutely. I do think that Kolek will play garbage time. And maybe if the Knicks are dealing with some type of injury or illness, he could see some time as well, too. Tom Thibodeau having a lot of faith in him, wanting to draft him and wanting to utilize him in practice and all of these things. And the trainers that are working with him are telling him to add muscle because they know he needs that if he's going to get better in the NBA. This is exactly what you want to see a rookie do in the offseason. Add muscle, listen to the trainers, do what he needs to do, but then get praise from head coach Tom Thibodeau and learn that the reason he's a Knick in large part is because of Thibs. It's going to make you want to work even more. And this kid has been home working on his game day after day after day because he knows come training camp, that backup point guard position, even though Bagley said that Kolek was ahead of campaign a couple of weeks ago, after training camp, that may not be the case. Kolek knows that. So he has to play for all the minutes that he wants next season. And if anybody's going to do it, Kolek is, because he has that hustle and that grit that you want to see from rookies in this league. And I'm so happy he's joined the Knicks. The Knicks drafted him, and we're going to see what he can do moving forward. Because Kolek is money. And you're going to see that each and every single time you get an opportunity to watch him play. His growth is going to be crazy. Watch what happens next year when he gets even more opportunities to play. Let's go to the chat again because we have another super chat from Tony. Tony, I got to say, my brother, I really do appreciate all of the love, the support, and the super chats you've given me all day today. I'm going to say, it has not gone unnoticed. I appreciate you becoming a member. And even more than that, you've been a supporter since day one. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the show. You are a very big supporter of this community. And when we start doing the playback.tv streams and you start joining those streams as well too, I'm going to make you a member of that channel as well in terms of somebody that has priority over other members as well in terms of talking, in terms of somebody that can come up and chop it up with me, and also can have some type of moderation to the room. I always respect the people that have rolled with me, and I remember names, and I remember those people. So, Tony, I thank you for that, my brother. His comment was, by the way, we need a Marcus Camby type of center. Is he wrong? Is he wrong with that? I don't think he is. Problem is, those type of centers don't grow on trees. You're not just going to draft one. You're not just going to find one in free agency. It's going to be very hard to trade for one. That's the problem. But if anybody's going to find the next piece to this team that we need, it's going to be Leon Rose. It's going to be this Knicks front office. And we have the roster to do it because everybody's willing to sacrifice so that way we can become a better team and win the championship. The championship has always been the goal, ladies and gentlemen. All we've ever wanted to do is be the team that wins a title, ends the drought, breaks it all, and becomes a team that everybody can have faith in each and every year. New Yorkers have been waiting for it. Knicks fans have been waiting for it. And we finally have the roster that could deliver it. And we have rookies that make us feel even better about the future when before we weren't drafting like that. Now we're in championship contention, and I'm talking to you guys about, and I'm talking to you guys around 15 minutes now about Tyler Kolek, a second round pick, and his potential impact headed into next season and the year after that. This is different times for this Knicks team. We're going through some changes, but these changes are making us an overall better team. And honestly, you really got to love that. But let's go to the chat, see what you guys have to say. And then we have a couple more comments to close out the show. And then the giveaway announcement. That's right. We have the giveaway to announce who won that snapback fitted from the Knicks from Fanatics and which snapback even won the whole vote. Remember, I cast the votes and I took tallies from everywhere, all platforms. So I tallied them all up. But who won? That's going to be the question. We're going to get to that. Let's get to the chat, see what you guys have to say. Keith P says, Troy, real question. Where is Nerlens Noel? Well, you did it, Keith. You were the one that did it today. I'm going to drink out of my cup because that's horrible. Okay. All right. Well, I have this moment to process the craziness that Keith just stated. Buy the merch. New York, we here because, let's face it, we're here. You can get the matching hat as well, too. All right from YouTube. Just go to YouTube, the Knicks Recap channel. Go to the store, and you can shop all of these latest trends that we're going to have. Also, taking requests for new merch to be created. Going to be creating some of those throughout the season, so definitely check that out. Now that I've done that and drank my little bit of water, I can talk about Keith P. in that comment that says, where is Nerlens Noel? I don't know where Nerlens Noel is. And frankly, I don't care. I don't care where Nerlens is. Because Nerlens is not the answer, Keith. He's not. Butterfingers Noel? Have I forgotten the player you're talking about? Have you forgotten him? Remember in the post? Pass, drop, rebound, drop, rebound, turnover, pass, out of bounds. What are we talking about here? Nerlens Noel? Is it not 2024 right now? Are we not going to be headed to 2025 soon? Nerlens Noel will be lucky to have a contract in maybe a G League roster. His knees are broken and he's getting older. You don't get older, your knees are broken, and you find time in the NBA. It just doesn't work like that. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. Don't care what he's doing. Don't really think about him at all. Don't care. He will never help the Knicks in a way that will make us a better team. That's just my opinion. Killer Dog says, if we're talking about Noel, we might as well see how Hassan Whiteside doing. Where is he? Probably with Andrew Bynum, because both of those guys are the exact same type of player. I think I saw Whiteside on a podcast recently for I forget the Heat player that does the podcast. The name is I'm losing the name right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the OG podcast, I believe. He was on that show and he was saying he tried to form a super team with him included. The problem is Hassan Whiteside and his motor is not part of a super team. That's part of a team that doesn't want to play basketball, that wants to coast by, that wants to use his size to bully people, and that's it. There's a reason he's not in the NBA as well, too. Just saying. This doesn't work. Tony Riviera, shout out to you, my brother. He says, Rose is doing an A to A+ job. Noel is like Bol, but not an NBA player who's ready. Noel drops beach balls. Yeah, Noel drops anything. Noel would drop, I could throw Noel one of those big soccer inflated balls, and he would find a way to drop it, you know? He would find a way to drop it to the floor. Like, I'm very confident in saying that I could throw Noel anything at all, and he would find a way to drop it. Because that's the type of player he is, you know? And I'm not knocking him. I was happy when he was a Knick, but he's not a Knick no more, and I don't want to see him be a Knick again. Not at all. But shout out to the chat gang. I really appreciate you guys. We're going to move on to the next topic. Now, a lot of times, you guys hear me talk about a number of different things. And one of the topics that we usually go by is the hater alert. Now, I try not to do these. You know me. I try not to do the hater alerts. I don't want to do the hater alerts because I don't like to talk about Knicks hate all the time. I like to talk about the praise as well. But I told you before, it's who's giving the hate, right? It's who's saying it that makes me triggered. Now, there's some people in the community, in the NBA community, that are responsible to give basketball takes and to make sure they watch what they say and they're fair. They're not biased. However, with ESPN and Brian Windhorst, it seems like they forgot the memo because recently Brian Windhorst was giving some comments about the Knicks and their offseason moves. And if you listen to what he says about the Knicks, it would seem like the Knicks failed in the offseason, made some destructive, disastrous moves, and now we're a terrible team. We're a team with no hope now. That's how bad he made it seem. So, hater alert, come on up. And now, highlighting you, Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst stated the following. Additionally, Brian Windhorst stated he warned that the Knicks about he warned the Knicks about the $210 million contract extension for OG Anunoby. He states, I understand why they paid OG Anunoby what they paid him. I don't think that's necessarily a great contract. Even though the team re-signed OG Anunoby for a 5-year, $212 million max contract as part of their strategy and to form one of the best defensive wing combinations in the NBA with Bridges, Windhorst believes that this decision might come back to haunt them in the future. And he doesn't necessarily think it was a great contract. Now, okay, we could talk about this in a few ways, but that last part, come back to haunt you? No. That right there is taking it to a level that you didn't need to take it. You were dramatizing it. You were trying to make it bigger than it needed to be. There was no reason to say that. Why did you say that? It was going to haunt us? It's not going to haunt us. We paid OG Anunoby the money we needed to pay him because if we didn't pay him and we let him walk, the trade we made for him would have made no sense, number one. Number two, if we didn't pay him, Philadelphia would have paid him as well. So let's not forget the other obstacles around why the Knicks paid OG Anunoby. You can say whatever you want to say about Mikal Bridges. It's an overpay. It's this, it's that. The reports right now is that Mikal Bridges is likely going to take a major discount like Brunson did and sign an extension with the Knicks. If he does that, it's going to even prove more why that trade was not an overpay. The Knicks are going to be good. Definitely a good team for at least 2 years. That means out of the picks that we give, I'm not going to include the pick swap because that still means we have a pick. And I'm not going to include the Milwaukee pick because that's not our pick. I'm only going to talk about our unprotected picks. If 2 years go by and the Knicks are good and those picks don't mean anything, then really we gave up 2 picks that might mean something, might not. And in my opinion, the Knicks are going to be a good team for 5 years, maybe even beyond that, because of the roster that we have and the character of the players on this team and what they're willing to do, what they're willing to sacrifice in order to make this Knicks team competitive and stay a championship contender. That is something important. But Brian Windhorst doesn't want to acknowledge that. He just wants to say that the OG contract was an overpay, and it was slightly, but we know why. And the Mikal Bridges trade was an overpay, and it was slightly, but we know why. But to say that it could come back to haunt us, that's just saying that you think the trade is not a good move, they're bad moves, and the Knicks made some type of misstep by going into that. And when you do that, you stop being analyst and you start being more fan. Fan of what? I don't know. Fan of over dramatizing things? Maybe. I don't know. But all I'm trying to say is that sounded like a shot. You could make those statements and still be unbiased, but that's not what happened. You made those comments, and then somewhere in there, put in the fact that you think it's going to haunt us, that you think that these moves later on are going to be moves that we regret. We're not going to regret the Mikal Bridges trade. I think we're going to look back on it and say, how in the world did Leon get that working? How did he pull off that move? There is no way we should have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby on the same team. That's a cheat code. That's a cheat code. OG and Mikal on the same team? That's stifling. You can't even enter the paint. Do we understand that? That's what the Knicks have right now. Regret it? And then OG Anunoby. Take him off the court. How do the Knicks look? Put him on the court. How do the Knicks look? Night and day difference. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Come on, Brian. You're a professional. You do this. You're on ESPN. You do this. ESPN Plus articles. I got to pay to read you. You do this. And this is what I hear? This is the commentary that I'm hearing? I hope in a year or two, when the Knicks have proven you and everybody else wrong, that you'll come back and you'll address this hater alert. And you'll say, you know what? Probably shouldn't have said that. I was probably going a little bit overboard. I probably was over dramatizing the situation. Either way, Ryan, watch what you say and be respectful, especially to this Knicks team. We don't regret anything that we've done this offseason. We regret nothing, not a thing. Why? Because we made the right moves. We made the moves to make us championship contenders. Ask any team in the league. Would you regret if you made moves in the offseason that made you a championship contender when before you otherwise weren't? Nope. So why should the Knicks apologize? They don't have to apologize for a thing. You will, though. Hater alert. Brian, I'm going to remember this. I hope you remember it too, because I'm going to bring it back when the Knicks shatter all of these expectations. But I want to close out the show today with a topic that really was something that I didn't think I was going to talk about, but it ended up being something that a lot of people wanted to talk about and wanted to hear my opinion on. The Knicks, at some point in time, I believe it was a few years ago, had an opportunity to bring back a New York Knicks legend, a New York Knicks great, Carmelo Anthony. But Anthony recently, on his podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, recently revealed that even though the Knicks wanted to get him back on the team, he gave us some information on why he didn't want to join the New York Knicks. The Knicks offered Melo a contract to return to the Knicks, but as just mentioned, Melo turned it down. He did not want to return. Now, is that because Melo doesn't like the Knicks? Does Melo hate the Knicks? Does Melo think that the Knicks are a subpar team? No, not at all. In fact, he went on his podcast and he clarified the entire situation. Melo said the following about why he didn't join the Knicks when he was given the opportunity to join them back in 2022. According to Steph Bondy of the New York Post, he gave us the following information about this. Carmelo Anthony said he turned down his dream opportunity to retire as a Knick because playing time would have been sporadic and the offer felt half-hearted. The former franchise face revealed he and the Knicks powers that be discussed a potential reunion in summer 2022. Nevertheless, the pitch roll was like, today you might play and the next 6 games you might not play. And then Melo said the following to that. I said, nah, I can't. The not knowing of when you're going to play and not play, I'd rather not go through that. I'm going to bow out gracefully. I just had a hell of a year in LA with the Lakers in my role. Basketball, that ain't the issue. I can't do that. There's a hell of a decline when I look at it overall, the overall big picture. The future Hall of Famer, who averaged 13.3 points in 26 minutes over 69 games with the Lakers, added that the Knicks, whose front office is led by Anthony's former agent, Leon Rose, were also lukewarm about their pitch. So it's not even that the Knicks wanted Anthony on the team. It was like they heard everybody saying that why not give Anthony a contract? You should give Anthony a contract. Let Carmelo retire a Knick. That's probably what they were hearing. And then after hearing all that, they probably said, okay, you know, Melo, if you want to join the Knicks, you can come here. You might play, likely not going to play, but we'll give you something. That's probably what happened. That's why Melo called the offer That's why Melo called the offer half-hearted or not really heartfelt, because he felt like they weren't doing it to get Melo and his skill set on this team. They were just doing it to appease everybody and save face around the league by getting Melo to retire a Knick. I can understand that from the Knicks' point of view, but honestly, you don't do that to Carmelo Anthony. I would have given him a legit contract, a legit role, and had him retire the right way, the way he should have as a Knick. Listen, I might catch a lot of heat for this. If I do, I honestly don't care. Carmelo Anthony was one of my favorite players on the Knicks. I remember the trade. I remember being hyped for the trade, even though I had a lot of questions. I was speculating what could be. I still had a lot of hope that the Knicks finally could get where I wanted them to get to. And Melo was a big reason for that. He brought back a lot of the emotions of feeling like a Knicks fan and riding for your team and not thinking you were going to lose. Because during that time, that's what the Knicks were surrounded by. So Melo helped fix that right away. I'll never forget that. So if you're asking me, yeah, I would have given Melo a contract. I would have given him a spot and maybe see what he can do. And then let him retire the way it was supposed to happen, in the orange and blue. It was a chance that we're never going to get back. Melo doesn't want to come back now. He's officially retired. He's not going to do anything like that. And credit to him. I really do credit him doing that. Not breaking out of retirement, doing a one-off season and then retiring. I'm glad he didn't do that. I wouldn't want it that way. And I don't think he wants it that way either. But hearing that the Knicks did offer him a contract and he declined it just tells me what maybe a couple of other free agents that might have talked to the Knicks might have thought and said the same thing. If I'm not going to be guaranteed playing time, I don't want to be here. It's not going to do anything for me in my career or my legacy or my value. So why do it? Carmelo Anthony basically said that. And I think, when you're talking about guys like Omer Yurtseven or maybe some of these other free agents that the Knicks wanted to go after, they couldn't find common ground at times in order to get a contract done. And maybe that had to do with the same feelings Melo has here, with not knowing your role from day to day. One night you play 6 minutes, the next night, maybe the next 2 months, you play nothing. And maybe you don't play again unless an opportunity presents itself. So the reason I wanted to mention this Melo thing, not to bring up any bad feelings, is because number one, he was one of my favorite players ever for the Knicks. And the fact that he could have been a Knick, he could have retired a Knick, and we didn't get that done because it was half-hearted and it wasn't something that we fully committed on, really probably to save face. That really breaks my heart because that was something I really wanted. I really, really wanted that for Melo, for the Knicks, for New York fans. I think we all wanted it. So it would have been nice to see. But it was even more so just to hear what Melo said about why he turned it down. Because you're not going to get any real time. Why would free agents not want to join this Knicks squad, this championship squad? You're not going to get that much time. You're not going to play that much. And I think this speaks to a very large problem right now for the Knicks team. When you're this good, when you're this stacked, but admittedly, you still need to bring in talent. What do you do? How do you solve that? Because then you have to sell that talent that you have to bring in. What minutes is he going to play? And how many minutes is that? And if it's reducing each and every night based on impact. That's why it's going to be difficult moving forward for the Knicks to add more legitimate talent to this team, because you have to promise talent's role when they come to a team. And the Knicks are going to have a lot of hard time to be able to do that. But it's going to be interesting to see what New York does. I have a lot of faith in Leon Rose and this Knicks front office. And I know getting out of a jam, making this Knicks team better at each and every step, that's something that we can always count on this Knicks front office to do. They've done it time and time again, and they'll continue to do it. But Melo points out something very important, something we should take note of, highlight, and also brings up a memory that maybe some of us don't want to acknowledge, but we should. Melo could have retired a Knick, but he chose not to. And that was the worst news that I had got all week long. All week long. That was the worst news I got. One of my favorite players didn't get his dream to come true, and one of my dreams didn't come true because I didn't get to see it. So definitely heartbreak there, sour feelings, but a good point to take away from what Melo said. But I appreciate you guys. Shout out to everybody in the live stream today, everybody who's watching, everybody in the live chat. You know, I appreciate you guys so much. We have about, I'd say, 20 to 30 minutes left to the show. So as we always do, we're going to jump right to the comments, take your questions, answer any questions you have to talk about. You want to ask me about the podcast. You want to ask me about potential playback.tv things. You want to ask me about other questions about merch and things like that. This is the time to do it. Or maybe you have a question about a player that I haven't talked about. Right now is the perfect time to do it. But I didn't forget, before I do it, let me say one more thing. Well, hold on. I see we got James in the chat. I didn't see James. I was about to mention the giveaway, James. James, I was about to mention the giveaway, James. I was just about to mention it. I was going to announce who the winner is of this first giveaway of many for the Knicks recap and all of my great members of the channel. But before I do that, I have to acknowledge you now. Now, James, you're not saying too many nice things here. And you said something else again that says, Nets better in 5 years. So now you say, and now you told me that I'm timing you out and I'm so rude. But see, I time out the people that deserve timeouts. And unfortunately, James, you kind of deserve a timeout. And because of what you just said, gonna have to put you on another timeout, okay? This one's gonna be for 5 minutes, all right? 5-minute timeout. Oh, what happened to all James's comments? Well, they got removed. I didn't. Well, James, I mean, it's your own fault. I gave you a chance. You had 5 minutes. I gave you a 5-minute timeout. Come back in 5 minutes. Just think about what you did, okay? Think about what you did. Come back in again, more respectful, and we can have a conversation. You used to be very respectful. Now you just coming and just being very, very disrespectful. That's the reason for the timeouts. But I appreciate you. I was just going to get to the giveaway. How dare you? I was just going to get to the giveaway. Let me finish the giveaway, and then we can talk. Okay? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody in the chat loving the entertainment that James and I provide basically on a week-to-week basis, because James does this to me every week, and I time him out every week. But without further ado, I want to shout out today's giveaway winner. And that's going to be Apal Diaz. Shout out to you, my brother. Thank you so much for being a member, a loyal member of this channel. About 2 weeks ago, you joined as a member. And after a randomized search of who was going to be the giveaway winner, you came up as the winner. And as you can see, the hat that won the giveaway is that orange and blue New York Knicks snapback fitted from Fanatics. So you can expect that and a little special card in the package as well, too, from your own The Knicks Recap. So thank you so much for being a member. Shout out to you. I'm so happy that you won the giveaway. Do me a favor, leave a comment below, especially with your @ to either Instagram or to Twitter, and I'll make sure I get in contact with you. We'll get your address, work out the logistics there, and make sure we send this package off to you as soon as possible. But again, shout out to Apal Diaz, our first winner of the Knicks Recap giveaway, winning this great orange and blue snapback fitted. And again, this is one giveaway of many. We're going to do so many other giveaways. Next month giveaway, I'm going to have you guys vote on. I'm not going to tell you which potential prizes you're going to have the opportunity to vote on, but we're going to have that vote happen, I think sometime either next week or so. And that way members can see what those type of prizes are going to be. And I have to say it again, the more members we get to the channel, the greater these prizes can be. So if you want to become a member, very easy to do so. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you see that little join button right next to where should be, or it should replace the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, let's fix that first. Subscribe to the channel first. Once you've done that and you've smashed the like button, you'll see a join button there. Hit that join button, and then you'll be able to choose what level of subscription you want to join for the Knicks Recap. Once you do that, that's it. You're automatically entered to each and every giveaway that we do. And depending on the level that you choose to join, your name gets entered, your name gets entered into the giveaway multiple times. So if you get the top tier pass, your name will be entered into the giveaway 5 times. If you get the second tier pass, 3 times. And if you get the rising star pass, which is the first tier pass, which again, no problem. I don't mind however you support. Glad how you support. That's going to be a 1 entry pass into any single giveaway that we do. Either way, very happy for each and every one of you guys. Thank you for supporting, and thank you for our giveaway winner again, Apal Diaz. Make sure you leave your @ in the comment below so we can get in contact with you and make sure that we can get you the prize that you won. So thank you so much for being a member. And now, without further ado, for the next 20 or 30 minutes, I am talking to the chat. I know you guys like this. You guys love when we go back and forth in the chat, when I answer questions that you guys have to ask. A lot of you guys have mentioned in many live streams in the past that you look forward to this part in the live stream where you can talk it up with me directly and ask me anything. So I really appreciate that. So we're going to go through some of the comments here as best as we can. If you have any other comments, please feel free to leave them. I'm going to scroll up here and see what we have to say. So let's see here. Outlaw says, quick question. Does OG have insertive base in his contract? You know, what his injury history? I think you're talking about an injury clause. Does OG have an injury clause in his contract? I don't know yet. And that's a very good question. I think I might ask one of my reporter buddies what the status of his contract is in terms of having an injury protocol within it. I'd have to assume it does. I'd have to assume it does given the money that he was given, but we don't know yet. I'm going to try to get more information on that and find out if I can verify where that contract is in terms of eligibility and criteria in terms of what he signed and agreed to. But very good question. I appreciate that. D-Block, great member as well too, says, James, you're doing too much. James always does too much, D-Black. When does James not do too much? He does too much all the time. And I give him a warning. I give him a warning. I tell him not to. I give him a chance. I looked at everything he said. I looked at all the comments. He was talking a lot of trash. He called me rude. He's coming into my live stream, a Knicks recap live stream, and trashing the Knicks. And I'm rude? You're lucky I only gave you a timeout and I just block you from the channel, okay? I'm being nice. I'm being nice. And your timeout was only 5 minutes. Wasn't like it was 50 minutes. It was 5 minutes, okay? You can come back if you want. Jeez. All right, let's keep it going here. Nick's 100 GM says, James is good. He's just a Nets fan. But that's what makes him not good. GM, you just ended why he's not good. He can't be good if he's a Nets fan. Those two things don't compute. Good, Nets fan, era. You know, like the era of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. Oh, excuse me. Let me say it again. Correct way. Error. I'm just messing with you. Kind of, not really. Leon says, no more James. Maybe he's a low-key Boston fan. He could be an any fan. He's on timeout now, though. So congratulations. Congratulations for the timeout. I don't care what fan you are. You're a timeout fan. Congrats. Let's keep it going. Outlaw giving me some emojis. GM giving me some emojis. Outlaw says, question. Well, we just answered that, actually. D. Grant says, Paperman may not have a clause. Oh, goodness. Shout out to my guy, State. If you guys haven't watched that live stream with me and State of the New York Knicks, you definitely have to watch that. Probably one of my most controversial lives that I've done. Got a lot of feedback on that. A lot of people don't want me to have State back on as a guest. But actually, I think I should. You guys really seem like you want to talk to him and give him some comments because you guys really don't like what he was saying in some of the live stream stuff. But you know what? I don't like people who always agree. That's not going to be something that I always look for. I want people to disagree. Oftentimes, the best disagreements lead to the best interactions and the best basketball talk. So I often like that. That's just my point of view. However, it seems like a lot of you guys might be at work today. But I know a lot of you guys are watching, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the love, all you guys smashing the like button and all of the subscriptions and all the new members today. Shout out to Tony, new member that we have today. And obviously, if you want to be a member of the channel, all you have to do is hit that join button and you can become a member as soon as possible. But I think that's going to do it for today's show. I do want to mention one more time, again, you can find the Knicks recap currently on playback.tv. If you're looking for the live link, go ahead and go to the video description. In this video, you'll see the Knicks recap playback channel there for the link. You hit that, you join as a member, and then whenever I go live on that platform, it will stream to a lot of other platforms, including Twitter, including Facebook, and including YouTube as well, too. But I'll also be losing the playback, so you can join that room, and you can also come up and talk to me directly. You can join as a speaker in those playback rooms and talk to me about each and every single game that we're watching, any topics that we're doing. And everybody on YouTube will be able to see you on stage, hear you, and see what you're talking about. So that's the best part of the playback. Again, join me one more time. It's the Knicks recap. It's the playback.com. So it's playback.tv/the Knicks recap. Join me and make sure you watch all the watch-alongs, the exclusive content, and you join me as a speaker so I can hear you guys and hear what you have to say. I want to hear from you, especially when we're watching the games live. And you never know who's watching. You could be featured on my channel with the playback.tv as some of their major viral clips that they do on a day-to-day basis. If you want to be part of that as well, make sure you're joining the Knicks recap playback.tv channel. But I appreciate you guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I know we're getting a few more questions right now, but it's more or less kind of done with the stream right now. I really appreciate it. So we're going to hold those questions off till later. If anything, I'll come back into the chat, a little bit later on, and I'll respond to some of your comments that I see. But for right now, that's going to be the end of this show. I really do appreciate all the love, all the support, everybody who came out and joined the stream today. And I hope you got something from it. I hope you learned a lot of information. I hope you got your daily dose of Knicks news today. And definitely, as always, the clips from this show will be coming out throughout the week, during this weekend, next week, and all things like that. So definitely stay tuned for that. Knicks Live is back next Wednesday. Knicks Live is back next Wednesday with a very special guest. I'm hoping to use the playback.tv for that special guest and that whole interview. But if I can't for whatever reason or technical difficulties, then we'll do the stream like we normally do. So definitely keep your eyes in tune for that. And we have a live stream next Friday again, like we always do. But again, thank you so much, guys. And until next time, please go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knick fans. Peace. And have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Live your life. Life is good. That's the end for this show. And I'll see you guys again on the other side. Peace and love.